the Suns.
What's up, everyone? I'm Kevin Zimmerman. This is Kellen Olson. We are the Empire of the Suns podcast guys, and we're going to talk about DeAndre Ayton, who we don't have him atop our big board, but for me and for you even, it's really close, and he's far and away right there with Luka Doncic as far as being the number one pick, and I think both of us would agree he's probably going to be the number one pick.
It's not a blowout by any means in terms of the discussion between the two of them. It's very close. It's just when you have a draft class, A, that is this good, and B, that has two prospects of this high quality, you really have to look at the little details, and that's where Doncic stands out more to us than opposed to Ayton. Of course, 20 and 10 out of bed. Look at the size of him. How can you turn down a prospect like that? I think the one thing everyone is sleeping on with DeAndre Ayton, in a positive manner, of course, like I'm known as the guy who's been negative about DeAndre Ayton all the time, but I think as a defensive center, you look at the size of him and how he moves. He could be one of the best defensive centers ever. And all we talk about is his offense, but on defense, my goodness, like he could be a transcendent player on that end if he fulfills his potential. Is Igor Kokoshkov the right coach to get something out of him on that end? I don't know. I hope so. But I think all you're looking for defensively is just for him to be fine, because he's going to be a fantastic rebounder. He's going to be a really good offensive player with that jumper, and with I'm not a huge fan of his post work, but I think that he is solid down there and he can become great, because once again, we're nitpicking these kids and they're 18 and 19. They could really grow into tremendous players, and it's a can't miss for the Suns. Whoever they take, it's going to be a great pick.
Let's talk about what we do know. We do know he's a great athlete. 7'4" wingspan. He's going to be a great rim roller off the bat. You run a pick and roll with him, he's going to pull defenses, all five guys, toward the hoop because they don't want him to catch. That's going to help out Devin Booker, Josh Jackson. Guys get off shots easier if that happens. Now, when you look at what we don't know, I guess, which there are a lot of unknowns, and that's not necessarily his fault at all. It's partially what he played at Arizona. He played power forward. He didn't necessarily need to use a bunch of post moves to get off shots, get off hook shots, because, well, he could just bully guys or take 15-foot jumpers, and he wasn't forced to use a full repertoire. So I think that's what's being kind of mislabeled as negatives, but it's unknown, I think.
So a thing we've talked about on the radio station a lot and on our podcast too is the Suns have never had this guy. They've never had a franchise center or whatever. This team hasn't had like a legitimate post option in how long? I think that's the other thing we're overlooking here. And, oh yeah, they're going to be able to throw a lob to a center and not have to have it like absolutely precisely right for him to go and get it. Tyson Chandler getting older, it's been a little bit more harder to get his value as a rim runner. This team, by the way, has a lot of good passers already. I think that's one of the things I actually disagree with Doncic and taking him, is that they need these passers. They need these great passers. I think Booker and Jackson are already great passers. Dragan Bender, Marquise Chris, those guys have solid playmaking ability. And when you put a big like that, like Ayton around the rim, and you have guys off the bounce like Booker and Jackson that can cause defenses to move in certain ways, it's going to help him even further. I think the situation in Phoenix defensively is where I really worry, but offensively I actually really like it and think that he's going to be great there if they pick him.
You go back, you were talking about last post presence. If you want to go back to Amari, if we skip Marcin Gortat, sorry, Marcin.
Go back to Morris in the mid-range, no?
No.
Okay.
Going back to rim-rolling elite big men, Amari Stoudemire, even as a rookie, he didn't have the jump shot. He didn't have even the size of DeAndre Ayton, and he impacted the game as a very young player just because of his athleticism. So if you want to just look at what we do know, I think that's the biggest takeaway. And defensively, look, DeAndre Ayton has to prove a lot as far as rim protection, but he moves his feet. He is an athlete. When he does block shots, you see why people think he's going to be a great shot blocker. It's just a matter of there are times where he stepped away or wasn't aggressive in trying to find block shots for himself. And, that's a lot of the system. Plus, Arizona needed him a lot. They couldn't afford him to get into foul trouble, so
we never know with defense.
Yes.
We never know. It's the hardest thing by far to evaluate with prospects. Ben Simmons did not care at all. As many of you don't care about Doncic, that's how much Ben Simmons didn't care about defense. And all of a sudden, he's guarding three positions in his rookie year very effectively for the Sixers. DeJounte Murray, a former Pac-12 player, some of you might remember, drafted 2 years ago. He's Archie good when he's 6'5", he's long, he can attack the basket. What else can he do? He was an all-defense player this year for the Spurs. And that's just how defense works sometimes. Ryan McDonough spoke about it and just said he's going to get better. He's 19, and he could be, like I said, just really that special defensive player. And that is the gamble in having someone like Doncic and taking him number one, and why Ayton feels like a more safe pick at number one despite Doncic's floor.
I think when you say that, that's a great way to sum it up. I mean, it's situational, and that's why the hire of Igor Kokoshkov is so important, because what he implements is going to go a long way as far as Devin Booker, DeAndre Ayton, those guys developing and taking appreciation of playing defense and developing their skills. That's Kellen Olson. I'm Kevin Zimmerman. Thanks for listening.
98.7 FM, Arizona's sports station.